So it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week there has been even more enticing matchups going down between top teams, some more rumors of potential trades have come out, and a ton of intriguing storylines are there to follow, so of course we have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. As the new NBA season continues on, PrizePicks is the best and easiest way to play daily fantasy to stay engaged on all of the excitement. All you have to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and the over or under on their projections, and you can win up to 20 times your original entry. Choose between points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made, fantasy points, and more. Plus, you can even make mixed sports entries, so if you happen to be a fan of football, baseball, soccer, or anything else, PrizePicks has you covered. When you play at PrizePicks, you're also not competing against anyone else. It's simply you versus the projections available. As for the picks that I'm looking at making for tonight's slate of games, I'm looking at Joel Embiid to score over 30.5 points, Ivica Zubac to grab over 8 rebounds, and Devin Vassell to make over 2.5 threes. By going down to the link in the description of this video and using promo code REFERENCE when you sign up, you also get a deposit match bonus of up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from White Persuasion, and he says that Trae Young is exactly what the Houston Rockets need right now. So without context, this take may seem a little bit out of the blue, but the rumor mill was certainly swirling this week, with Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks being at the center of a lot of those rumors. This season hasn't necessarily been bad for the Hawks on the basketball court, but it definitely hasn't been good either. As they sit at 500, they've been playing some uninspiring basketball lately. In the offseason, they went out and acquired DeJounte Murray to team up with Trae Young, which was supposed to be a move that would vault them up the standings, but that has not been the case to this point. Turmoil in the locker room is swelling to the point where things that are going down are getting leaked to the media, and it feels like things could go south quickly in Atlanta. Reports came out yesterday that the feeling around the league is that Trae Young could be the next star player to request a trade, and while a lot of people are rightfully asking the question of what more he could possibly want and who would even want him given the drama now unfolding and the price tag that it would take to get him, I think the take at hand here actually nailed it, with Houston being a pretty solid fit. Obviously, we're not at the point where Trae is actually going anywhere yet, but if we do get there, then the Rockets are in desperate need of an elite playmaker. Kevin Porter Jr. has been the player they've been trying to develop as a point guard, but he has never been a natural playmaker and is more of a two-guard. Jalen Green has been emerging as a potential star-level scoring talent, but also isn't a playmaker by nature, and then they have a lot of two-way players being developed, but nobody who can create for others at a high level, and you notice when you watch them play. Trae Young, year in and year out, is amongst the league leaders in assists per game, and his ability to attack off the dribble and work a pick and roll is as good as it gets, which would make the lives of this young Rockets team so much easier. Eventually, the Rockets have to get aggressive if they want to go from rebuilding to competing, and if the Trae Young saga does end up going south, I would definitely think that they would be a suitor for his services. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Optima, and he says that the Miami Heat need to make a big trade soon because the team simply does not have enough scoring at the moment. For any of you who have been watching my videos for a while and have specifically been watching this Your Take Not Mine series, you'll know that I've been saying this for a while now, and was pointing it out throughout most of the offseason too. Of course, I received some blowback in the comments by Heat fans at the time, calling me a hater because at the time, they were coming off of a conference finals appearance as the 1 seed in the East, but now here we are 2 months into the season, and the Heat and their lack of depth is hurting them severely, just as I predicted. My biggest rationale in the offseason was that the Heat essentially stood pat with what they had, which was already leading to scoring struggles in the postseason, and they made that run because of the fact that Jimmy Butler had some Herculean performances that just weren't sustainable. Other teams in the East, meanwhile, were all making big moves to bolster their rosters, and wouldn't you know it, but the Heat did in fact get passed up as a result of it. Kyle Lowry has fallen off hard since his Raptors days. Guys like Max Strus and Duncan Robinson are streaky shooters and one-dimensional players, and they have a glaring lack of bench production, which once again puts too much of the burden on guys like Jimmy Butler and Tyler Herro to create. The worst part of the situation is that they already have a lot of their money tied up with guys like Lowry and Robinson on hefty contracts, so they can't do anything major until they find someone to take those contracts off of their hands. The best case scenario seems to be the trade one or both of those two for a sixth man type that provides scoring off the bench, because I don't think they have the assets to make a major splash for a star right now. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Miha, and he says that the Raptors should look to trade Pascal Siakam at this point because he's getting in the way of Scottie Barnes' development. The Raptors are another team in a tough spot right now because after making the playoffs last year, they clearly entered this season ready to do so again, but they're currently 4 games below 500 in 10th place in the Eastern Conference standings and have lost 6 of their last 7 games. It feels like the time has finally come for them to go in a new direction, which is tough for the fans because they're still holding on to a key few guys that are remnants from their championship team, and Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet could end up being highly sought after pieces as the trade deadline approaches. Scottie Barnes is not taking the leap that many were hoping he would take after winning Rookie of the Year last season, and while I think it's ridiculous to blame Pascal Siakam for that, especially while Siakam is individually playing very well, I do believe that Barnes would have more opportunities if Siakam were moved. Additionally, with Siakam playing the best basketball of his career this season, his value will never be higher, so it's the perfect time to look to trade him because the Raptors can now reasonably expect a solid return on value for him on the open market. The Raptors are clearly stuck at a crossroads between rebuilding and competing, and it looks as though the rebuilding route might win out, which, if they can't reasonably make a playoff push, is probably their best option. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.